Hey Five Spokes, today's coaching session, how to build a smart profile using 4 easy steps. I don't need a bike to do that, so today I'm coaching off the bike. So let's start with, what do we mean by building a smart profile? Primarily 2 things. One, we're going to use some core set of principles. You've learned a lot of these in your certification classes, but also making sure that we build in enough recovery time throughout our profile so that your riders are prepared for each and every challenge that you lay out. So let's get started and jump right in. 4 steps. Number 1, objective. What's the objective of your ride? Experienced instructors, if you're like me, you think, oh, I can do this in my sleep. But honestly, I get lazy about my objectives. Sometimes they end up sounding something like, I want it to be more challenging than last week. Like, that's lazy, I need to try harder. So, number 1, objective. Everything's built around that. Number 2, use those FITT principles you learn in certification to build the body of your profile. So, frequency, intensity, type, and time. Okay? Number 3, once you've built that, then go ahead and review what you've done and make sure that you've built in enough recovery times that you're preparing those riders for the challenges. And number 4, also add rehearsal moves to your warm-up once you've looked at your ride and you understand, hey, now that I've laid this out, what might I add to my warm-up to take my riders through so I'm really preparing them for the ride. So, let's go ahead, let's apply these 4 steps, and let's build a profile. Number 1, what is my objective? Well, I'll keep it general right now and say that for this ride profile, we're going to test riders' limits. There's a variety of ways we can do that. I have a general idea of how I want to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and immediately use our FITT principles. So I don't really think of these in this order. I start with intensity. So if I'm going to test riders' limits, I know that the intensity is probably going to be hard to very hard. And then, because I'm spinning certified, I think in spin symbols. So I think, what are the movements that are hard to very hard that I were probably going to use for this ride? So that can be standing climb, jumps on a hill, sprints on a hill. But I'm kind of not feeling sprints, mainly because if you do choose to use sprints, you want to be especially cognizant of your recovery times. So I'm kind of not thinking sprints for this, right? So I know my intensity is hard to very hard, and my type, probably seated climbs, probably some standing climbs, okay? So then frequency and time, I use these 2 things together. So let's start building the meat of that now that I have this general idea of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it, and a little bit about length. So when I think of time, I'm thinking about having like 3-minute challenges. And within those 3 minutes, for that kind of test limit thing, maybe 30 seconds. So I would start with, 2.5 minutes, and let's say a seated climb, and I want them at threshold for this, right? So at threshold. And then at the end of that 2.5 minutes, 30 seconds, I want them going above threshold, okay? So that's 3 minutes. 3-minute recovery, so this is going to be kind of 1-to-1, right? So I've got my 3-minute recovery, that's going to bring us to 6 minutes. Then what I'll do is, for the second challenge here is, this was at the end of the 3 minutes, let's put it in the middle. So that takes us to 1.5 minutes at threshold, seated climb, right? So at threshold. Then you've got your 30 seconds over threshold, right? So they're like surging for those 30 seconds. And then the challenge is, you're not recovering here, you're coming back because you still have 1 minute. And I want them to come back to threshold. I like that challenge. So that takes us to 9 minutes. We build in our recovery, 3 minutes. So that's here. That takes us to 11, 12 minutes. Okay. And then for our final set here, since we did end, middle, we're going to start this surge in the beginning, right? So 30 seconds, over threshold, right? So over threshold, then challenge them to come back to threshold and holding that, okay, for 2.5 minutes, which takes us to 15, with a 3-minute recovery, 18 minutes. Okay, so this body right here, 18 minutes. So that leaves us with our warm-up here is, I generally use an 8-minute warm-up. Most of my riders come early and they're warming up. So about 8 minutes, and then let's build in a standard 2-minute cool down. All right, so cool down 2 minutes. We can play with these depending on our ride. We'll do that as our third step. So 18 minutes, we have 17 minutes left, okay, to hit that 35-minute body of work. So when I look at this, it's a great opportunity to not just do some rehearsal moves here, but really get them centered in threshold. And that can be threshold for that day. If you use watch, you have power meters, they might know their numbers. So let's have them do 2 minutes on, finding threshold, 2 minutes off, recovery, okay? Working recovery, 4 minutes. Let's have them do that 2 times. So that takes us to 8 minutes. So now we have 9 minutes left. So let's pick up on this theme, but do something a little different down here. Okay, so something we could do is, they've been in the saddle this whole time. Certainly you have the option to have them come out of the saddle for the going over threshold. It's just, it has to be, I would think it would have to be consistent for these 3 things, right? So let's get them out of the saddle. Let's do 30 seconds. Out of the saddle, bam, at threshold here, and then 30 seconds, quick working recovery, okay? Let's do that 3 times, so that's 3 minutes, right? Then let's give them a 2-minute recovery, okay? So 2-minute recovery, which really is like 2.5 minutes, takes us to 5, which leaves us with 4 minutes, which is awesome to finish out a ride. So if I step back and look at this, something nice maybe to finish with is a bit of a cadence ladder for 4 minutes to take us across the finish line fast flat. So what we can do here is maybe start here. So we've got 4 minutes left. We're going to do a quick cadence ladder, fast flat. Want you to find high 80s to start with, right? So high 80s for your RPM. Then hit your, for 1 minute. Then let's hit the middle here for like mid 90s, right? So kind of mid 90s. 2 minutes, and then bam, we're going to take it home for that last minute. And you want them to go all out, so 100, low 100s, not over 110, or whatever it is for your bikes and your certification. But let's kick it out, let's take it home fast. 1 minute, that takes us, we've got our 4 minutes, so that's 35, with 8 and 2 gives us 45. So let's look at our recoveries, do a review. I feel pretty confident about it because I did do 1-to-1 recoveries in here, as well as in here as well, and got them ready and prepared for that fast flat at the end. Feeling good about the warm-up and the cool down. I'm going to leave them at 8 and 2 minutes. And then finally, what rehearsal moves would I use for this ride? I'm thinking that what I would do is challenging gear and then have them accelerate. right? So getting that feeling of, I've got a challenge, I'm accelerating, I'm taking it off, and I'm not coming all the way off, but I'm dropping back to where I started. So that's what I would take them through for rehearsal moves. And then finally, I would name this ride. I don't know about you, but I always feel really challenged by the names. I feel it's hard to be creative about this, but I don't know. Let's call this Surgeon. You can leave comments. What would you call this ride? I would love to hear. So thanks for tuning in. They are our 4 quick steps for building a profile and building a smart profile. So thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay awesome.